Sampurutta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 3, entitled Krishna is the source of all incarnations, Text 32. Atah param yad avyaktam avyodha guna brahmitaham adrushta shrutavastutvat sajivo yat punarbhavaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation Srila Sutta Goswami continued. Beyond this gross conception of form is another subtle conception of form which is without formal shape and is unseen, unheard, and unmanifest. The living being has his form beyond this subtlety. Otherwise, he could not have repeated births. Purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. As the gross cosmic manifestation is conceived as the gigantic body of the Lord, so also there is the conception of his subtle form, which is simply realized without being seen, heard, or manifested. But in fact, all these gross or subtle conceptions of the body are in relation with the living beings. The living being has his spiritual form beyond this gross material or subtle psychic existence. The gross body and psychic functions cease to act as soon as the living being leaves the visible gross body. In fact, we say that the living being has gone away because he is unseen and unheard. Even when the gross body is not acting, when the living being is in sound sleep, we know that he is within the body by his breathing. So the living being's passing away from the body does not mean that there is no existence of the living soul. It is therefore otherwise, sorry, it is there, otherwise, how can he repeat his births again and again? The conclusion is that the Lord is eternally existent in his transcendental form, which is neither gross nor subtle like that of the living being. His body is never to be compared to the gross and subtle bodies of the living being. All such conceptions of God's body are imaginary. The living being has his eternal spiritual form, which is conditioned only by his material contamination. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport. So, another shloka talking about the wrong conception that people have about the form of the Lord. Yesterday we talked about the Virat Rupa, the universal form of the Lord, and we understood yesterday that this universal form of the Lord is an imaginary form, and the description of this universal form is given in the scriptures just to facilitate the neophyte beginners to meditate on some particular form. The Virat Rupa is not Satchidananda Vigraha that we have understood yesterday. It is not an eternal form full of knowledge and bliss. Whereas the original form of the Lord is Shama Sundara Dvibhuja Muralidhara form. This we have understood yesterday. Now here there is another form of the Lord beyond the gross form, and that is called avyaktam. That is what the shloka is talking about. Let us see this word by word. Atah param, beyond this. Param means beyond. Ataha, this. Atah param, yad avyaktam. Yad means which. Avyaktam, unmanifested. Avyaktam, unmanifested. Vyaktam means manifested. Avyaktam means unmanifested. Or in other words, Vyaktam is gross, Avyaktam is subtle. Sthula and Sukshma. That is the difference. Avyudha Guna Brahmitam. Avyudha means without formal shape, formless. Guna Brahmitam, affected by the three gunas, the three modes of material nature. So there is a form which is beyond the influence of the three modes of material nature, which is formless and which is unmanifested. Adrishta Shruta Vastutvat. Adrishta, Drishta means seen, Adrishta means not seen, Ashruta means not heard about, Vastutvat, Vastu means being like that, Vastutvat, being like that. Saha Jivo Yat Punar Bhavaha. Saha, that, Jivaha, living being, Yat, that which, Punar Bhavaha, takes birth repeatedly. So the translation that Srila Prabhupada gives to this shloka is in this way: beyond this gross conception of form, that is the universal form which we discussed yesterday, Virat Rupa, beyond this gross conception of form is another subtle conception of form, avyaktam, subtle conception, which is without formal shape, nirvyudham, it is without shape, which is formless, and then is unseen, adrushta, unheard, ashruta, and unmanifest, avyakta. The living being has his form beyond this subtlety. Otherwise, he could not have repeated births. So here, the description is, even though there is a description about the form of the Lord, here the jiva is being talked about in this shloka. We are all the jivas. We are all part and parcel of Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we are his amshas. We are his parts and parcels. And we have a form which is beyond the subtle conception of form. So let us try to understand more about this. In the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna talks about his two kinds of energies. Right? Bhumirapo analo vayuhu kham mano buddhirevacha ahankaram iti yamme bhinna prakritir ashtada. So first of all, he talks about the material energy. So the material energy, Krishna says, it consists of 8 things. Bhumi, earth, apaha, water, analaha, fire, air, bhumirapo, analo, vayuhu. Vayu means air, analaha means fire. Bhumir, apo, analaha, vayuhu. Kham means the space. So these are called the 5 Pancha Mahabhutas, the gross material elements. And then Krishna talks about the 3 subtle energies, Sukshma energies. What is that? Manas, Buddhi, Ahankara. Manas means the mind, Buddhi means intelligence, Ahankara means false ego. Krishna says, these are my separated Bhinna me prakritir ashtada. These are my 8 separated energies, which consists of the material energy. So these are called 5 material elements. Right? Earth, water, fire, air, ether, Pancha Mahabhutas, plus the 3 subtle Sukshma energies called as earth, that is mind, intelligence, and false ego. Right? So these are the material elements. These are also energies of the Lord. Why they are called material elements? Because they have no consciousness. They are nothing but dull matter. The five gross elements are dull matter, and the three subtle elements are also dull. Mind, intelligence, and false ego. They are also material, but they are subtler than the gross material elements. Gross means something which we can touch and feel or which we can see through our eyes. This is called gross matter. There is another kind of matter which we cannot touch and feel nor we can see through our eyes. That is called subtle matter. So we have to understand two types of matter exist. Okay, gross matter and subtle matter. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, they fall under the category of gross matter. Mind, intelligence, false ego, these three elements fall under the category of subtle matter because we cannot touch or we cannot see through our senses, we cannot perceive this mind, intelligence, and false ego. But they are more sukshma than the gross material elements. So, but nevertheless, they are all material only. Mind is also material. Intelligence is also material. False ego is also material. So these are the eight material elements. Then Lord Krishna says further in the seventh chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Apareyam itastvanyam jiva bhutam. So Krishna talks about, there is, apart from these eight elements, there is another energy of mind which is called superior energy. And why it is called superior energy? Because that has consciousness. And what is that superior energy of the Lord which has consciousness? That is Jiva. That is the soul, the living entities, you and me, all of us, who are all conscious entities. We are also energies of Krishna, but the difference between the gross, subtle material elements and us is that we have consciousness while they don't have consciousness. Since we have consciousness, we are called superior energy. So we are spiritual energy, superior energy, whereas the eight elements are inferior energy, material energy. This we have to understand. In the Bhagavad Gita itself, Lord Krishna says, real knowledge means to be able to distinguish between the inferior material energy and the superior spiritual energy. To have a proper clarity, to have the understanding between the difference between these two, superior spiritual and inferior material energy, to have proper clarity, to know the difference between the two, that is called real knowledge. That is jnanam. Now, why it is called real knowledge? In the Vishnu Purana, it is said, Ya vidya sa vimuchyate. What is real vidya? What is real knowledge? Real knowledge is that which frees us from all kinds of bondage. That is real knowledge. What does real knowledge do to us? It frees us from illusion. It frees us from bondage. Now, generally, 99.99% of the people, human beings in this world, they all think that they are their bodies. They identify themselves with their bodies. Body is nothing but gross and subtle material elements we have understood just now. So, people who think that they are the body, what do? Their whole life is based on how to satisfy the body, how to satisfy the senses. Oh, my eyes want to see some beautiful form. Oh, let me go and see some beautiful form. My ears want to go and hear some nice music. Let me go and hear. Oh, my tongue wants to taste some nice dishes, palatable, tasty dishes. Oh, let me go and satisfy the tongue's desires. So, the immediate result of identifying oneself with the body is we become slaves of our senses. This is called bondage. We become bound to the slavery of our senses. Our whole life will be simply spent in how to satisfy the senses. So a person who thinks that I am the body, he has no understanding beyond the body. He thinks that happiness will come only when I satisfy my body and mind. Therefore, he or she whole life they dedicate their time simply to satisfy their body and mind. Body is satisfied through gross sense gratificatory activities like eating palatable dishes, watching some nice movies, or hearing to some nice music, all such things. And mind, the subtle body is satisfied by having some satisfaction of temporary relationships and all such things. So, if you notice, if you examine the life of a common man in this world, you will see that his or her life 24 bar 7 is simply revolving around the body. It is revolving around how to satisfy the body and the mind. And this is actually slavery. This is actually bondage. So, real knowledge helps us to come out of this slavery, come out of this bondage. Real knowledge is what Krishna presents in the Bhagavad Gita. You are not the body, you are not the mind, you are the soul. You have a body and mind. You are not the body and mind. You possess a body, you possess a mind. This we have to understand very carefully. So I have a body, I have a mind. So why do I have this body and mind? I means the soul. Why do I have this? To achieve the purpose of the soul. We have got this wonderful human body, and the human body, human life, the only purpose of human life is to reconnect with Krishna. We have forgotten that we are part and parcel of Krishna. We have forgotten that we have an eternal loving relationship with Krishna. Human form of life is an opportunity to revive our loving relationship with Krishna. And for this, we need to practice Bhakti Yoga as recommended in the Bhagavad Gita and as elaborated in the Bhagavatam. So, until we practice Bhakti Yoga under the guidance of a pure devotee spiritual master, the human form of life, if it is used for any other purpose, it is simply waste of time, waste of opportunity, waste of time and energy. Human form of life is meant to revive our loving relationship with Krishna. This is a point which is again and again it is repeated everywhere in the Upanishads, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Bhagavatam, everywhere. This point is again and again repeated. Because even an animal like cat or a dog also experiences sense enjoyment. Animal like cat and dog also runs behind sense objects. How to eat nicely, how to sleep, how to have sex life, and how to protect oneself from danger, defense. These are there even in the animals. But we as human beings, if we are also doing the same four things which animals are doing, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, then what is the difference between us and the animals? There is no difference. Srila Prabhupada says, a dog is running on four wheels, sorry, a dog is running on four legs, and we human beings are running on four wheels, and we think we are advanced. What is the difference? We are doing the same old thing in a very sophisticated manner. This is not the symptom of a human being. So, misusing our body and mind simply for temporary sense enjoyment is an underutilization of the human potential. Human life affords us an opportunity to directly connect with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Human life is meant for preparing ourselves to go back to Vaikuntha, to our original home. That is the purpose of human life. And we must properly utilize the human life for this purpose. So, for that, we need to have knowledge. Knowledge means to know the difference between body and the person, the soul. So 99.99% of the people in this material world, they're all living in ignorance, illusion, because they are misidentifying themselves with their bodies, and they are wasting the valuable human life simply to take care of the body and mental needs. So this is the point. So we have to understand we are not the body and mind. So here it is said here, Prabhupada makes some interesting points here in the purport. Let us revisit those points. As the gross cosmic manifestation is conceived as the gigantic body of the Lord, so also there is the conception of his subtle form, which is simply realized without being seen, heard, or manifested. But in fact, all these gross or subtle conceptions of the body are in relation with the living beings. So, the subtle conception of the uh, form of the Lord, what is that? Subtle understanding. That is the avyakta understanding. Avyakta means formless. There are many people who say God is formless, he has no form. How can God be formless? He has given you and me a form. How can he himself be formless? It is not possible. He has a form, but that form is not visible to our material eyes. We cannot perceive the form of the Lord through our material senses. Therefore, Lord Krishna has got a name called as Adhokshaja. Adhokshaja means one who is beyond means Lord who cannot be perceived through our material senses. अथ श्रीकृष्णनामादि न भवेत् ग्राह्यमिन्द्रियैः सेवोन्मुखे हि जिह्वादौ स्वयमेव स्फुरत्यदः. This is a statement in the Padma Purana. Srila Prabhupada quotes this. Ata Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyaihi. We cannot understand Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's leelas, and Krishna's qualities through our material indriyas, material senses. We cannot understand. Then how can we understand? Sevonmukhe hi jihvadav swayameva spuratyadaha. Right? The Lord, when He chooses to reveal Himself to us, then we can understand. So, how will the Lord choose Himself? How will the Lord choose to reveal Himself to us? When He is pleased with our seva. How to engage in seva? We have to engage all our senses, beginning with our tongue. Beginning with our tongue, one by one, we have to engage all our senses, indriyas, in the seva of Lord Krishna. Then, when the Lord is pleased with our seva, He will reveal Himself to us. Swayameva spuratyadaha. So the tongue has got two functions. Tasting varieties of food stuff is one function. Another function is to vibrate, to speak is another function. We have to engage both this in the service of the Lord. We have to use our tongue to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Kali Kale Krishna Nama Rupa Avatar. In Kali Yuga, Krishna has taken incarnation in the form of his holy names. And anybody who sincerely chants the holy names of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Krishna will reveal himself to such a person. He can get connected to Krishna. So we have to use our tongue to chant the holy names of the Lord, and we must also use our tongue to taste Krishna Prasadam. The food that is offered to Krishna, we have to eat that food. Then our tongue, our body becomes purified, our consciousness becomes purified. We all prepare food because to live we need to eat something. Instead of preparing food for our sense enjoyment, we should prepare food to offer to Krishna for his pleasure. Then our cooking also becomes yajna. It becomes spiritual activity. So when we cook the food to offer to Krishna, and with love and devotion we offer that cooked food to Krishna, Krishna accepts it. Out of his mercy, he accepts it. And then we take the remnants of the food offered to Krishna, that is called prasadam, means mercy of the Lord. So when we take prasadam, our tongue and all the senses become purified. So in this way, we have to begin the seva of the Lord. Hmm? We have to begin the seva of the Lord. Training of the tongue. Srila Prabhupada says our Krishna consciousness process or Bhakti Yoga process is very simple. It begins with training the tongue. We have to train the tongue to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We should train the tongue that I shall taste, I shall eat only food that is offered to Krishna. Only Krishna Prasadam I will take. In this way, when we train our tongue, then we become gradually, by this training, we become advanced in spiritual life. We will be able to understand the Lord, right? So, and enter into a loving relationship with Him. So, here Prabhupada is saying the living being has his spiritual form beyond this gross material or subtle psychic existence. So, our existence, the soul's existence, is beyond the gross and subtle bodies, right? So, for example, Prabhupada is giving one nice example explanation here. Even when the gross body is not acting, when the living being is in sound sleep, we know that he is within the body because of his breathing. So a living being's passing away from the body does not mean that there is no existence of the living soul, right? So this is a very important argument. Suppose a person dies, all his relatives will gather around the dead body and they will all be crying. They will say, "Oh, my father is gone, my uncle is gone, my husband is gone." All the relatives will be saying like this. My father is gone away, like that. Now the question is, who has gone away? His body is there lying in front of you. Then why are you saying my father is gone away? Actually, the real person within the body, the soul has left the body and gone away. That means until then, he did not realize that the real person in the body is the soul, not the body. You see, at the time of death, we realize this. We say the person has gone away, he has passed away, but his body is lying there. Who has passed away? The soul has passed away. That means minus soul, the body is simply a dead body. It is the soul which makes the body animated. It is the soul, the presence of the soul, which makes all the parts of the body work. Once the soul leaves the body and goes away, the body is simply burnt or it is buried. It is of no use. Nobody will keep the dead body in their house, even though he may be the most dearest relative, but no person will agree to keep the rotting dead body in the house because the dead body is useless without the soul. This we have to understand. So, in all our activities, we give so much importance to this body, but we don't give importance to the soul. This is so unfortunate. An animal can behave like that. It is understandable because an animal does not have this understanding that I am not the body, I am soul. An animal can behave like that. An animal's life is simply centered around how to satisfy the body. That is okay, understandable. But we human beings, we have been given higher intelligence. We have got higher consciousness to understand and appreciate the fact that I am not the body, I am soul. So why should I simply waste my time simply taking care of the body's requirements? Yes, body's requirements are important. Bhagavatam is not saying we should not take care of the body's requirements. But we should not simply think that goal of life is to satisfy the body, to satisfy the senses. That should not be the goal of life. Jivasya tattva jignasa. Bhagavatam is saying, what should be the goal of life, human life? Tattva jignasa. We must be inquisitive to know about the absolute truth, the tattva. We must be inquisitive, eager to know about who am I? What is my relationship with God? Why am I in this material world? I don't want to die, but why death is imposed upon me? These are the things. This is called Tattva Jignasa. We have to be interested in Tattva Jignasa, not in how to increase my sense enjoyment. That Jignasa will lead to the defeat of the human purpose of human life. Hmm? So Bhagavatam says, Parabhavastavad abodha jato yavanna jignasata atmatattvam. Rishabhadeva instructs his sons in the fifth canto, fifth chapter of the Bhagavatam. Parabhavastavad abodha jato yavan na jignasata atmatattvam. As long as we don't become inquisitive about Atma Tattvam, about spiritual subject matter, then our human life is Parabhava. Parabhava means we have been defeated. The purpose of human life is defeated as long as we don't inquire about spiritual knowledge. Knowledge beyond the gross and material bodies. We have to ask, we have to inquire, we have to find out. We should be eager to know this. And when we are eager to know such spiritual subject matters, Paramatma, who is seated in our heart, will guide us to a bona fide guru, to a proper guru. Bhagavatam also says, Tasmat gurum prapadyeta jignasu shreya uttamam. You should go to a bona fide spiritual master, guru. For what purpose? Not for asking, when will I get promotion in my job? When will I get a good salary? When will I get my girlfriend? This is not the reason you should go to a spiritual master. This is not the reason you should go to a guru. Bhagavatam is saying, Tasmat gurum prapadyeta. Prapadya means you have to surrender to the guru. For what? And then what you should do? Jignasu shreyam uttamam. You should put forward questions which will actually give you ultimate benefit. Not temporary benefit, real benefit, long-lasting benefit, ultimate benefit of the soul. We have to put forward questions which will help us to understand what is the ultimate goal of life. What is the Shreyas? We are always interested in prayers. Prayers means immediate benefit. Oh, my tongue is demanding, let me go and eat some nice food. Okay, I will go to KFC and eat something and come back. Yes, it is giving some immediate benefit. That is called prayers. So animals are like that, prayers. They're only interested in immediate benefit. But human beings, we must be interested in Shreyas, long-term benefit. Hmm? Even though I may eat in KFC so many times, still I am not satisfied. I may have the wealth of the entire world, still I am not satisfied. What is that which makes me really satisfied? That we have to inquire from the bona fide spiritual master. That is called Jignasu Shreya Uttamam. That is the real self-interest of the soul. In the seventh canto of Bhagavatam, Prahalad Maharaj says, Nate viduhu swartha gatim hi vishnum durashaya ye bahirarthamaninaha. People in this material world, Prahalad Maharaj laments. He says, unfortunately, human beings who have got such a wonderful human body, human form of life, what are they doing? Bahirarthamaninaha. They are simply interested in external enjoyment. They are interested in enjoyment of this gross body and the subtle mind. They have turned their face away from you, O Krishna. Nate viduhu. They don't know. Swartha gatim hi Vishnu. They don't know that the real self-interest is Vishnu. The real self interest is to connect back to Krishna, to serve Krishna. This they do not know. So unfortunate. Even after coming to human form of life, even after taking birth in this Punya Bhumi, Bharata Varsha, we don't know what we should be doing in human life. What a great calamity it is. So Prahlad Maharaj laments in that way. So Prahlad Maharaj says, "O Lord Narasimha Deva, I don't want to go back to Vaikuntha alone. How can I leave all these foolish people who are suffering in the bodily conception of life, who have forgotten you? How can I leave them alone to suffer in this material world? And how can I go alone to the spiritual world? I don't want to go alone. I want to remain here and I want to preach the message of Krishna consciousness, Bhakti Yoga to all these foolish people. I want to make them intelligent. I want to make them your devotees. I want to help them also to go back to the spiritual world. I want to help them to make the best use of their human form of life. This is what I want." So pure devotees like Prahalad Maharaj, they dedicate their life for what? Not for their own personal enjoyment, not for their own personal liberation, but they dedicate their life to help the fallen conditioned souls, the foolish people in this material world, to revive their lost connection with Krishna. This is the real, Janaseva. Real Janaseva. Of somebody may say, "Oh, opening big hospitals, orphanages, old age homes, planting trees. These are all Janaseva." Yes, that is also Janaseva, but these are all temporary Janaseva. It is not going to ultimately benefit the soul. Real benefit for the soul is how to help others to become Krishna conscious, how to help others to become a Krishna Bhakta, a Krishna Dasa. This is the real, public service, Jana Seva. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared 500 years ago, he said this: "Bharata bhumite janma loilo yar, janma sarthaka kari karo paropakar." Whoever has taken birth in this Punya Bhumi Bharata, he has got two important functions. One is Janma Sarthaka Kari. He himself should become a devotee of Krishna and make his life successful. Second thing is he should help others. Paropakara. Help others to connect with Krishna. So, all of us, we are so fortunate. We have come in touch with a true representative of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We have come in touch with Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada, his pure movement, the Hare Krishna movement. We have all been chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, reading Srila Prabhupada books. That's not sufficient. We must actually go out. There will be so many people who are innocent, who have become victimized by Kali, by Kali's influence. We should go on behalf of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, on behalf of Srila Prabhupada. We should go and request them. Oh, my dear brother, oh, my dear sister, why don't you chant Hare Krishna mantra? Why don't you, become a devotee of Krishna? Yare dekho tare kaho Krishna upadesh. This is the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whomever you meet, share them about Krishna's upadesha of Bhagavad Gita. Tell them, why don't you read Bhagavad Gita? It is going to lead to your real happiness. Why are you running behind fake temporary pleasures? Just few minutes of pleasure, you are wasting your human life. Don't become, fooled by Maya. Please come, take the shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. Take this Krishna consciousness. So this is our duty. We should tell more and more people. So this is what. So simply by understanding that we are not the body, we are actually the soul, our spiritual journey begins. Right? Now, another point, last point that Prabhupada is making in this purport, Prabhupada is saying, the conclusion is that the Lord is eternally existent in his transcendental form, which is neither gross nor subtle, like that of the living being. His body is never to be compared to the gross and subtle bodies of the living beings. All such conceptions of God's body are imaginary. The living being has his eternal spiritual form, which is conditioned only by his material contamination. So the point here is Krishna's body is transcendental. It is beyond both gross body and subtle body of the living entity. To think that Krishna has got a gross material body like us, or Krishna has a subtle body like us, both are actually Mayavadi concepts. These are not correct understanding. So Krishna's form is transcendental, right? So the Mayavadis, they say that when Krishna comes to this material world, he also accepts a material body. But that is a wrong understand. That's a wrong understanding, and that's very clearly mentioned here. In fact, there are some great scholars who write commentary on Bhagavad Gita, and they say that until Krishna was speaking Bhagavad Gita, he was an ordinary person. And after, when he began to speak Bhagavad Gita, there was a ghost which entered his body. Some Atma entered his body, and he began to speak the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. Now, this is again a Mayavadi concept. As we discussed yesterday, for Krishna, there is no difference between body and soul. Deha dehi vibhedayam neshware vidyate kvachit. Right? We quoted this and we discussed this yesterday. For Ishvara, for the Supreme Lord Krishna, there is no difference between Deha and Dehi. He comes in his original spiritual form. So this is the point that has been emphasized in this shloka. So we should never make the mistake of thinking that God has got a material form like ours. He does not have a gross body like ours, neither he has a subtle body like us, because both gross and subtle are both material forms only. His form is totally untouched by the three modes of material nature. This we have to understand very, very carefully. Let us go to the next shloka, shloka number 33. Yatre me sada sadrupe pratisiddhe swasamvida avidyayatmani krite iti tad brahma darshanam. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation, Suta Goswami continued, whenever a person experiences by self-realization that both the gross and subtle bodies have nothing to do with the pure self, at that time he sees himself as well as the Lord. Purport. The difference between self-realization and material illusion is to know that the temporary or illusory impositions of the material energy in the shape of gross and subtle bodies are superficial coverings of the self. The coverings take place due to ignorance. Such coverings are never effective in the person of the personality of Godhead. Knowing this convincingly is called liberation or seeing the absolute. This means that perfect self-realization is made possible by adoption of godly or spiritual life. Self-realization means becoming indifferent to the needs of the gross and subtle bodies and becoming serious about the activities of the self. The impetus for activities is generated from the self, but such activities become illusory due to ignorance of the real position of the self. By ignorance, self-interest is calculated in terms of the gross and subtle bodies, and therefore a whole set of activities is spoiled life after life. When, however, one meets the self by proper culture, the activities of the self begin. Therefore, a man who is engaged in the activities of the self is called Jivan Mukta, or a liberated person, even in the conditional existence. This perfect stage of self-realization is attained not by artificial means, but under the lotus feet of the Lord, who is always transcendental. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that He is present in everyone's heart, and from Him only all knowledge, remembrance, or forgetfulness take place. When the living being desires to be an enjoyer of material energy, or illusory phenomena, the Lord covers the living being in the mystery of forgetfulness, and thus the living being misinterprets the gross body and subtle mind to be his own self. And by culture of transcendental knowledge, when the living being prays to the Lord for deliverance from the clutches of forgetfulness, the Lord, by his causeless mercy, removes the living being's illusory curtain, and thus he realizes his own self. He then engages himself in the service of the Lord in his eternal constitutional position, becoming liberated from the conditioned life. All this is executed by the Lord either through his external potency or directly by the internal potency. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport. So, continuing in the same thought process, here the next shloka is spoken by Suta Goswami to the sages of Naimisharanya. Yatre me sadasad rupe pratisiddhe swasamvida. Yatra, whenever, ime, in all these, sat asat rupe, gross and subtle forms, gross body and subtle body. Sadasad rupe, pratisiddhe, pratisiddhe means on being nullified, swasamvida by self realization. That means the first part of the shloka is we have to understand by self realization that we are neither the gross material body nor the subtle body. When we understand in that way, swasamvida means self realization. When we understand in that way, then what happens? That is the second part. Avidya yatmani krite iti tad brahma darshanam. Right? We will be able to come out of the avidya, ignorance that we have imposed upon ourselves, and then we can have Brahma Darshanam. Brahma Darshanam means seeing the absolute truth. Darshanam means to see, Brahma Darshanam means to see the absolute truth, Krishna. So when we will be able to see Krishna? When we realize, we are situated in self-realization that we are neither the body nor the soul. It is not simply theoretically saying that, okay, now I got to know that I'm not the body, I'm soul. It is not that. We must be established in the activities of the soul, firmly become fixed in the activities of the soul, which is nothing but bhakti seva. We must be engaged in seva of the Lord. Then we can achieve Brahma Darshanam. We can actually see the Lord face to face. So the translation goes like this. Once again, I will read. Whenever a person experiences by self-realization that both the gross and subtle bodies have nothing to do with the pure self, at that time he sees himself as well as the Lord. So seeing ourselves and seeing the Lord both happen simultaneously, side by side. Prabhupada says self-realization and God realization both happen side by side because we are part and parcel of God. So knowing ourselves means also knowing God. Or the other way, knowing God also helps us to understand ourselves. So therefore, this is a very important thing. So we have to understand that we are neither the body nor the mind, and we have to become engaged in the activities of Bhakti Yoga. Then we can understand, we can realize ourselves, we can also realize Krishna. That is the meaning. So an important point that Prabhupada mentions, what is liberation? Prabhupada is explaining here. The difference between self-realization and material illusion is to know that the temporary or illusory impositions of the material energy in the shape of gross and subtle bodies are superficial coverings of the self. So we should first of all know that body and soul, they are coverings of the soul. Body and mind, they are the coverings of the soul. So example Krishna gives in the Bhagavad Gita. Vasamshi jirnani yatha vihaya Navani grihnati naroparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. Krishna says, just like a person gives up old and torn garments and puts fresh garments, he wears fresh clothes. In the same way, the soul gives up old and useless bodies and accepts new body. So, the body and the mind both are like coverings, like the dress for the real person, which is the soul. We are that real person, the soul. Now, the Prabhupada says these coverings take place due to ignorance. Later on in the purport, Prabhupada explains when the soul desires to enjoy independent of Krishna, then we are covered by these two types of coverings, the gross and the subtle bodies. Right? Now, that is ignorance. Forgetting Krishna is real ignorance. So, when we are ignorant, when we are forgetful of Krishna, then we get this material body. And here Prabhupada says, such coverings are never effective in the person of the personality of Godhead. For Krishna, there is no such coverings. Because Krishna is never under Maya. Krishna is always Mayapati. He is the master of Maya. But for us, because we are prone to uh, become, become conditioned by Maya, we accept this material bodies. So, knowing this convincingly is called liberation or seeing the absolute. What is the meaning of liberation? Liberation means currently I have been covered by the gross and material bodies. Actually, I am not these coverings. And for Krishna, there is no question of such coverings. Knowing this convincingly, properly, this is called liberation or Brahma Darshanam, seeing the absolute. Right? So Prabhupada continues, this means that perfect self-realization is not made possible by adoption of godly or spiritual life. So if we want to attain this Brahma Darshanam, perfect self-realization, then we have to modify our lifestyle. We cannot lead a materialistic way of life and also desire that we get self-realization. That is not possible. We have to switch to a godly life, a spiritual life. What Srila Prabhupada has given us is exactly this godly life. Every day, get up in the morning, chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, worship the deities, sing the bhajans, kirtans, glorify the Lord, dance in front of the deities, take Krishna Prasadam, hear Bhagavatam. This is godly life. So anybody who takes to this godly life, he can attain self-realization very easily. So Prabhupada gives another definition for self-realization here. Self-realization means becoming indifferent to the needs of the gross and subtle bodies and becoming serious about the activities of the self. So many lifetimes we have taken so much care and attention for the needs of the body and mind. So we are still stuck in the cycle of birth and death. So here Prabhupada is saying self-realization means not being so much bothered about the needs of the body and the mind, the gross and the subtle bodies. Krishna has given me birth, so Krishna will definitely take care of my requirements. I don't have to work hard. I don't have to make it a big issue about how to satisfy my requirements of the body and the mind. That Krishna will take care. I should be more interested in the activities of the soul. When we make up our mind in this way, then we are serious uh, candidates for self-realization, right? So otherwise, simply, even if one is a grihastha, one has responsibilities to take care of the family because of which he has to earn his livelihood. Even in that case also, Prabhupada said, a grihastha devotee should not make the process of earning his livelihood very cumbersome or very, very complex. It should be very simple. Simple way of earning one's livelihood. That's how it should be. And the majority of the time of the day should be dedicated for Krishna conscious activities. Not that out of 24 hours, uh, 10 hours, 12 hours, people work very hard, and hardly there is time for Krishna. Then such a lifestyle is not conducive for Brahma Darshanam. It is not conducive for self realization. So Prabhupada says that we have to mold our life in such a way that 24 bar 7 we are conscious of the Lord. That kind of a lifestyle is called godly life, and that is suitable for self realization. So that is a very important point. So another point that Prabhupada mentions is if a person is engaged in the activities of bhakti yoga, such a person is called Jivan Mukta, a liberated person, even in the conditional existence. This word Jivan Mukta is coming in one of the shlokas in the scriptures. Iha yasya harer dasye karmana manasa gira nikhila nikhilasu api avasthasu jivan muktasa uchyate. If a person leads his life in such a way that always he engages his karmana, his activities, manasa, his thoughts, gira, his words, kaya, vacha, manasa. If he is engaging all these three things in the service of the Lord, in this way, carefully, if he engages, then even while living in this material body, he is called a Jivan Mukta. He is a liberated soul. So, all that we have to do is engage our speech, our actions, and our thoughts in the service of the Lord. How to engage our speech? By chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, by reciting the Bhagavatam, by preaching Krishna consciousness message to the others. This is a way we can utilize our speech in the service of the Lord. How can we use our body? Yes, by doing services to the Lord, using our body by cleaning the temple of the Lord. Or a grihastha, if he is keeping the deity at home, if he is cleaning the house, he is actually cleaning the temple of the Lord. There is no difference. Because, oh, now the Lord is present in my house. Now this is Lord's house. I have to keep the Lord's house clean. Therefore, I have to clean the house. So then he is using his body in the service of the Lord. And using our feet to walk to the temple of the Lord, to the holy places connected with the Lord. That is another way we can utilize our body in the service of the Lord. Using our body to offer dandavat, pranam, namaskara to the Lord and to the spiritual master. This is another way of using our body in the service of the Lord. So we have to do devotional service, physical, practical devotional service. That is how we can use our body in the service of the Lord. Then the mind, how to use the mind in the service of the Lord? By thinking about the Lord, by planning how to engage, by, when we hear Bhagavatam every day, after the class is over, we have to meditate. What are the points that I learned today in the class? So we have to think, use our mind to think about the Lord. We have to plan how to preach this message to more and more people. Planning, this is also using our mind in thinking of the Lord. So, meditating on the pastimes of the Lord, chanting mindfully, that is also another way of using our mind in the service of the Lord. So, when we use our body, mind, and our speech completely in the service of the Lord, even while living in this material world with a material body, we are called a liberated person. We can become liberated. That is Jivan Mukta. So Prabhupada is giving an opportunity for all of us to come to this position of being a Jivan Mukta, a liberated soul, even while living in this material world. So these are some of the points that are mentioned in this purport. So finally, the conclusion is we if we want to realize the Supreme Lord, we have to engage in activities of devotional service under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. So with this, we come to the end of the session. Anyone has any questions or any comments? Yes, here is a question. In the previous purport, Virat Rupa and Vishwarupa mentioned as same and imaginary. If Virat Rupa is imaginary, the Vishwarupa shown by the Lord Krishna to Arjuna and others in Kuru Sabha, how should we understand that? Yes, this we talked about it yesterday. Uh, yes, the form of the Lord which Krishna showed to Arjuna, that is called Virat Rupa or Vishwarupa, right? Uh, it is actually imaginary because it is a material form. It is just for the sake of giving the neophyte devotees an opportunity to meditate on on a form of the Lord. So that is the idea. So you can hear yesterday's class recording for more details. We have talked in detail about why this Vishwarupa or Virat Rupa is called imaginary form. This we have discussed. And also, if you read the purports, the first few purports of the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, you will get more clarity about this. First few verses, if you read the purport, you will get more clarity. Is there any other question or comment? Yeah, thank you, Lakshmi Narayan. You're welcome. Okay, so we shall close the session for today. We shall meet again in the next session. ग्रंथरा श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय विश्व गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय हरे कृष्ण